And I think we're there. I think we are there. This is vk3sl test missions on the afternoon session, and I've been mucking around here trying to sort out the humbuckle in the system, and I think we've resolved it.
Sounds clean now.
Yeah, look, it's a sort of a matching DI box that I made myself at the back of the console. Supposed to isolate the console from everything else, and I have a feeling that one of the transformers isn't doing what it should, and or it's a bad wiring thing, or I've got some. I need to have a ground lifting aspect to it. So that's on the cards. I'll have to pull that out and rejig it all. But yep, these things are made to test. At least I know what's causing it, because everything should be isolated here. I've got sort of multiple stages of isolation. Is the
same as I'm doing here. Ins and outs of all of these are via a transformer. So
yeah, that's the only way to do it.
In fact, one of the problems I had with the interface that was, well, it's in the back of this now, it was on the 70 radio. There was a little, as Wayne reported, I had a little bit of hum there last week. I was playing around and I thought, maybe that's, I recall on one of those interfaces what I'd inadvertently done is ran a ground wire from the input ground side on the balanced side to the output unbalanced side.
Yes.
And sure enough, when I opened it up today to change the pad, there it was. So I clipped that off and put the new pad and isolator value in there, and now it's all fine. So
yeah, I have a feeling it's something very similar here.
How easy it is. Yeah, one little path somewhere.
That's all it takes, is one anomaly, and then everything goes out of whack. So yes, it's a question of knowing how.
The nice report too is I was just listening to your intro music on the Frog. Switched
right.
across.
Yes.
Whilst its recovered signal strength is lower than the R5000, but sounded really nice after the capacitor clip. So
yes, C13.
So if I get a little bit more level into that with better tenors, that'll be very nice.
Nice, excellent. Oh, that's really, really good to hear. So you're it wouldn't be fully quieting if you get a bit of noise, I imagine.
Yeah, because I'm using the loop, and so what I've done now is I've got the loop. I've moved the loop and raised it a little bit, which has improved things slightly, and it will end up in a better position. But I just thought I'll temporarily try that. Yeah. And I've got that feeding a three-way switch, so I can now feed the R75, the Frog, and the R5000 at the moment. And so I've been doing that with Dave's stuff, switching between the three and having a bit of a play. And it's
great.
Yeah, I've got to say, the recovered, and you're right, on AM, the wide IF on the
spectacular.
The Frog, it's very nice.
It's spectacular. It's a fantastic set. They are just wonderful. I used it almost continuously for a very long period, and it's a great accessory. But I think what you've done, running it on DC, is a good move. And I think that one of its Achilles' heels is the bridge rectifier.
AC supply.
Yeah, it gets very hot, and
I'm
it's
in the midst
on all
of
the
doing
time.
the very same now for the R5000, which is essentially like the receiver that is like the 440. Looks the same, shares much. It's a very nice receiver too, and it has a built-in internal supply which works well, but again can be very warm. And I'm just doing the same, so I can run that off DC and then much nicer.
Yes, I think the 7700 it's a wonder any of them are still going. The rectifier runs super hot. It's on all the time, and it's a really problematic design, I think. So yes, running it off DC is definitely the way to go. And it sounds like you've got that sorted with your R5000 as well. So
it's on the way. I'm just making up a little bit of it comes with a rear blanking panel, much like the Frog does. Yes. And when you remove that little panel, 2 screws, it reveals the cutout in the metal chassis. Yep. And there's an original kit that's meant to go in there. Right. But again, I'm just manufacturing my own little plastic blanking panel to replace it, and it'll have Andersons. Yep. But way to go. I've already got the DC hook. It's running on DC now, just with flying leads to prove that the inputs all work, and it just keeps it all in Anderson and neat. And the good thing about those is that they're polarised, and you can't stick things in the wrong way. Yeah, definitely. No, it sounds like it's a good move. How was the walk? Oh, very nice, actually. We've had a brilliant week. They were up in the Grampians and just did lots of walking and out and about. Camped at Lake Fines. Nice. Beautiful weather too. Some lovely days there. We did. We had some fabulous days. And northern part of the Grampians is my favourite area, away from all the troops. And
Yeah, there's some spectacular...
Getting up sort of towards Mount Zero and
yes,
all of that?
Mount Hollow Mountain, Mount Difficult, Mount Zero, all of our area. It's just spectacular. And we're going to be in for a bumper wildflower season this year. So I wouldn't mind going back up in spring and just having a look, because it's recovered spectacularly after the fires in 2014.
Now with a lot of rain, it should be...
Oh, yeah. It's looking abundant, looking really, really good. So, yeah, fabulous country and wonderful walks. It's just a great place to go. And I know it's all quite close to civilization, and I know it's... it's a very typical place for a lot of people, but you can find out of the way areas in the Grampians.
There's areas you can walk in there and not see other people for a fair way. And,
and absolutely.
Lots of campsites around. I've not done a lot in there. I've been closer to the main areas, but I do love the area.
Yeah.
I've done a bit of nighttime photography in there long ago, still with the 35mm cameras.
Oh, really?
And I want to go back now with digital, because with Lake Belfield in there too, if you get the right opportunities, you can see some fabulous pictures.
Definitely. And you can just go off track, no one cares, and you can just do your own thing, really. But look, the Grampians has always been a favourite place. And
spent one very cold night up on top of Mount William in the Land Cruiser for a field day. We got permission to access to get up the top there.
Did you really?
And had antennas and everything set up playing field day. And then the storm came through and the winds, and it was just too much. So we just secured everything, packed down. The antennas were still up but secured, and we just got in the back of the Land Cruiser and slept till morning. It was just horrible.
Okay, I can only imagine. It would be absolutely freezing. We hoped to climb Mount William, and it was all on the agenda, but the road's been blocked off, so we didn't have any easy access, so we had to leave that one. But that was on the agenda. But look, the Grampians is an amazing place. There's so much diversity.
And were you camping there?
Yeah, I was sort of camping. The others were staying in a little hut thing, and we sort of shared it. I spent a couple of nights in the hut as well. And we couldn't get a spot in town, so we were out at Lake Fynes, which is just a bit it's between Stawell and the Grampians. Yep. So, it's a little place to stay.
Fire at night time and all that stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, it was really lovely. It was just a great place to be. And... did some night drives and night walks and all the things I enjoy.
You'd had some fabulous skies, I imagine.
Oh,
too.
Totally.
Quite clear nights.
Totally. Wonderful skies. The skies were just great. And we're very lucky with the weather, because the forecast wasn't that brilliant, but it ended up being very good. And no complaints at all. And it's rare for all 7 of us to sort of venture out. So, and I think everyone was in the right headspace to make the most of it. So
that's good.
One of those rare sort of family synchronous experiences, which is a bit harder as the kids get older.
I was about to say, I imagine that is as they get older and they all have their own interests and groups of friends, and they start going their separate ways. It gets harder and harder, I imagine.
Yeah, that's it. Anyhow, no, it was really, really good. And sort of came back, hit the road running, and I stayed up all night the night we got back to get this. I was really determined to sort of make some practical changes to the booth here, and I put in that switching thing, or the splitter. That distribution amp splitter thing I showed you, that Behringer thing, and that's now all in. And I've got those 2 computers that were yours that Wayne dropped off. Those 2 Dell things. One of those is in the shack, and the other one's in the house, and I've got all the peripherals for that. And so I now have really good comprehensive monitoring. So, and I got myself a Behringer sound card, an outboard sound card. And so I'm just using that solely for monitoring, and it's working really, really well. It's excellent.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's good.
So, because typically I use a little, those little handheld recorders for monitoring, and then I fill up the sound card, then the SD card, and then I sort of put it into archive it. But it's quite fiddly, and
whereas now you can capture it directly on the machine, and you've already got the file, and it's just a matter of sending it up.
It is. That's it. And
that's good.
And a terabyte will hold a hell of a lot of
And the great thing about those machines is that they've got plenty of USB ports. So
look, it's good.
There's lots of I/O on them.
There certainly is, and so they're very versatile, and it's quiet, and it's well integrated in the system here. So very pleased about that. So many thanks.
No problem. Again, it was. The opportunity came up because of what was happening, and I looked at it and went, these things are kind of too good to just throw.
Yeah.
And there were also some issues in that the way they got rid of it. I was, from a security perspective, of making sure that whatever information was on them was properly gone, not partially as they were.
Yes.
And I've got one here that I've still got to press into service. I just got to get a couple of adapters and things. And well, actually, I'm looking to get another monitor because I want to, because they support DisplayPort.
Yes.
I want to go down that track because it gives you more options.
It does.
And
yes, I've been reading about that, and the one inside I'm using the DisplayPort, and it's very nice. Looks excellent.
Yeah, they're capable of, you know. And that's still,
it's
I mean, at HD, that will be fine. I wouldn't attempt to play 4K with that beast, but
no.
I am heading towards, because for my project and the stuff that I want to do, I really need to start heading towards a machine to edit, 4K stuff on.
Okay, yeah.
So I might as well start heading in that domain with some monitoring and bits and pieces. And,
certainly.
And that way, when I build the final tub, I already have some of the bits. It's not as big a hit.
Yep. Totally understood. No, it's you've got a good plan there, Frank. So did you get to the snow at all? Was that on the agenda still?
They got it a little bit more, and they've opened up a couple more lifts. But it's school holidays, and a lot of the traffic was pushed towards one end of the hill.
Yep.
And I've spoken to a lodge manager up there. He said, it's quite busy up here at the moment.
Sure.
So I'm waiting, and it's not long till I go up for my big trip.
Okay.
So I'm pretty well waiting till that now. But then, and because the snow is still not, it's okay, but they are relying heavily on man-made at the moment. They've had about, early in the week, they got about 23 centimetres of natural stuff over 2 nights.
Sure.
So it was not bad, and it improved things. But, at one point they'd run the snow guns continuously for 57 hours because the temperatures stayed low enough, and so through that they're able to open another couple of lifts. But it means you're still on those main areas with the gun service. You can't head off between and on some of the interesting areas of the piste. So I'll just wait a little longer till.
Yeah, I'll wait to school holidays.
Because the other thing that's always nice about, particularly staying there, that I enjoy when I'm up there, is that once you get good snow on the ground, which tends to happen a little bit later, it is literally ski in and ski out of your lodge.
Yeah.
So in the morning, I literally clip in at the front door, ski down to the lift or to my coffee shop near the lift.
Yes.
Get a coffee in and load and.
I imagine that would be very convenient.
It is. It's really nice. And also to come back, if I want to go back to the lodge and make my own lunch, I can ski to the back door pretty much.
Yep.
Clip them off, and then ski out again, or at the end of the day, it's, you can just ski straight home sort of thing. And
totally.
That's kind of really nice. It's very different and it's quite unique.
Yeah, okay. So you wouldn't find that sort of thing in Europe and other places?
Some places, but not. A lot of places still require you to go from where you're accommodated in the town to where the lifts are.
And carry
there's they have little shuttle buses and things. Some villages have that, ski in, ski out, but certainly in Australia it's pretty unique. There are a few lodges at Buller you can do that with.
Okay.
But it's not as common.
Sure.
Just the layout of where the lodges are relative to the... But the layout of Falls is that all of the accommodation is kind of on the side where the runs are to a degree. And there's one big home trail that cuts across the top of where the majority of the accommodation is. And then there are trails that drop in. And so you literally... You've got one main home trail that takes you back to the village bowl, and that goes past a lot of the accommodation, and then there are trails that lead down from that to various access points within that accommodation village area, and then you can end up on the roads, and you can kind of ski up and down the road depending on, so if you know where you are and you know the lay of the land, you can pick the right trail to get in and essentially make it pretty well all downhill all the way home.
Oh, okay, that's convenient. No, it sounds good. Now, if you understand the topography and what's available, but it sounds like a nice, elegant arrangement to be able to ski to the door. Nice. Very good. Well, I'll tell you what. Soon, the day that I'm liberated from work, I'll certainly won't be choosing school holidays to do any trips.
No.
Certainly not the time. But at this point, I have no other option. But that's okay. But, no, it's been very good, actually. The last few weeks, it's been a nice change of pace. Getting out and about in the light and winter time is just brilliant. We took up some 35mm cameras. My daughter's sort of into old...
still shooting film. Mono or colour?
Colour film. Kodak.
Transparency or print?
Print at this stage. And we've got a local lab, which is quite close to here in Burwood, who do it fairly reasonably. So it sort of gives her that authentic experience, and I just go for the ride.
I think places like, I think maybe Kmart still do it.
Okay.
And I think even at TED's, you can take stuff in.
Right.
Once upon a time, they used to have the mini labs on site.
I see.
They no longer do that, but they send it out.
Mm-hmm.
And I think their service is kind of still okay too.
Yeah.
The prices are, look, it's gone up a lot. I remember at its height how cheap it got.
Yes. That's right.
It's got more expensive.
Oh, look, it's a niche thing.
Demand has dropped.
Yeah, look, very much so. It is a niche thing. It's just a nostalgia sort of experience.
I've still got a pair of my Nikon 35mm film cameras.
Yeah.
And the nice thing about the Nikon digital cameras is that when I first got the full frames, I was still able to use my 35mm film lenses.
Okay.
Because they've retained the same mount.
Oh, very good.
So fully manual.
Yeah.
You had to run it in manual and all of that, manual focus, but
nice.
They work beautifully, nice images, all of that.
Yeah.
Perfect. So
that's lovely. Being able to use the old lenses, I think that sort of compatibility is good fun, and it means you can enjoy the older technology too. Yeah, look, it means you think a lot more about a composition and it's giving her
exposure, like, because you want a roll of 24 or 36. That's all you've got,
That's right. No, she's going through a big sort of retro thing at the moment, so I'm not objecting.
Good on her.
Yeah.
How old is she?
Olivia is 16, I think.
Okay.
No, 17. 16 or 17, something like that. Year 11. Anyhow, she's keen.
And what film cameras is she using?
She's got my old Pentax K1000.
Oh, the Ks, yeah, okay. They're a good camera.
Yeah, I took that.
Are they the M42 thread mount, is it?
No, it's got a K mount.
It's a form of bayonet.
Yes, it is.
Okay.
And that's the camera I took on all my long walks years ago, and it's held up very nicely. And I have quite a few lenses. And what happened was I was walking on the council cleanup.
Are they compatible with
Ricoh?
Ricoh or Minolta? There's one on.
I think it's Ricoh because I found some. Would you believe? At one of the schools where I teach is in a fairly affluent or effluent area, depending on how you look at it. And I was walking to school, and there's this pile of Ricoh cameras just chucked out on the council cleanup.
Oh, wow.
So I picked them up, and a couple of them worked. And the sort of classic 70s cameras that didn't have lenses. So I gave it a bit of a clean up, and I'm using my other K-mount lens on that, so I can just
there you go.
So it's just a bit of fun.
But it's also worth keeping in mind, because if you pick up the right sort of Ricoh lens at the right price, and it works. Yeah. Particularly the esoteric, like some of the wider, faster stuff, because that's what, as with anything fast class, if you can get stuff with a larger minimum aperture.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. No, that's certainly the way to go if you can. I'd like to get a good wide-angle lens for it, actually. That'd be fun. So look, we just shoot a couple of films a year. It's not
What's the widest you have now?
Oh, just what is it? It's only 50 mil.
Oh, wow.
That's all I've got. So I haven't got anything wider than that. But I've got some close-up lenses.
So the old Nikon, I had 28.
Yeah.
But now for my the modern digital stuff, which is full frame, so same angles of views, I've got a 12 fisheye at f2.8, and I've got a 14 prime at 1.8, and a 15 to 30 wide.
Oh, very good.
So there's there's some very nice glass around.
I'm sure there is.
Trying to think for the old Pentax Ks.
I should go to a camera fair.
Did any of the aftermarket manufacturers make glass for them as well?
I think
so
Tamron.
Like
Yep, I've got a Tamron lens here. It's a telephoto, or not telephoto, it's a zoom. Can't remember what the specs are, but that's in the basket. So that's here. And look, there's a few others. And look, I've got some close-up screw-on things as well. But they're just it's accessories I used to take on the walks and used when I was younger. And Livia wants to take an interest, so we're just doing this together. And of course, I've got a decent Canon digital camera as well, just a 550 domestic camera. But that does the trick for the general shots.
They're a good camera. They're a crop sensor, aren't they? I think APS.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, so that's the arrangement. My mum's got an old 1940s or early 50s Voigtlander. I'd love to give that a try.
Yeah, wow.
It's one of those classic older
generation. Is it like 110 or 6x6 roll or something? Or is it?
No, it's a 35 mil.
Okay.
Yeah, but it's a classy looking camera, and it'd be fun to run a film through it.
I've still got Dad's old. It's Kodak Retina too.
Oh yeah.
Which is a 35 mil with a so the lens folds away with a bellows arrangement, so you fold it out and it's a bellows onto then a lens, and you can focus. And it's got one of those like little when you look through the viewfinder, it's a
like a little prism thing.
It's a field view, a little prism. So you overlay the two images.
That's
for focus.
That's it. Yeah, I've seen those.
It still works fabulous.
Oh, good on you. So have you run a few films through it?
Oh, years ago. I haven't for a while, but it's just because it's what Dad, when he came out from Europe, it's what he was using for such a long time.
Okay. And you haven't got any pinholes in the bellows or anything like that?
I think they're okay. I think it's still all right. Cool. Next time I get it out, I'll open the back and you can get it up to some light and have a good look.
Yeah, have a good look.
I think it's okay.
Oh, send me a photo. Be keen to see what it looks like. I like the starting of some of those early cameras.
Next time I'll bring it along.
Actually, Mr. Fleming, who's listening to this, John Fleming, is probably listening, and he is a camera collector and a very enthusiast, and he had a dark room and quite a very strong interest in photography. So, he'll probably chime in with an email or something at some point with a few thoughts on the matter.
Such a great pursuit. You know, it's, I'm glad Liv's getting into it the way she is, because to learn using film to become very, as you say, pay a lot of attention to composition and learn about exposure in a way that if you can deliver consistently good results on film in that limited, amount that you can shoot.
That's right.
You then move to digital and you just find things very easy because the laws are all the same, optics are the same.
Sure.
You know, the laws of photography don't change. But
except you just don't get the instant gratification of having the image
but also the fact that you've got, like now, the cards in my thing, you know, both my cameras run dual card systems.
Yes.
And I shoot RAW to one and JPEG to the other.
Okay, yes.
But you can really then... You start at a pretty good point with that background, but you can finesse a lot and look at it quickly as you go, and the ability to just shoot a lot to get the really exceptional stuff. You know, it's nice. Whereas film, you always had to be a bit careful.
I know. That's right. Every picture's
stuff's happening. I'm just going. With digital now, stuff's happening. I'll just keep shooting.
Yeah.
And
you can take a veritable movie now. You can just keep going.
Well, look at it, and hence what I'm doing, the interesting time lapse.
Yeah.
Where you shoot an entire night.
Yes.
And that ends up as 30 seconds on screen or something.
Yes, that's great. Yeah, no, good stuff. Yeah, no, it's a great hobby, and I enjoy the build quality and the feel and the weight and the sort of the click. There's that mechanic. The K1000's got the best click in my estimation. It's got that feel. It's like 50s cars, the car doors.
When you reflex camera with the shutter and the mirror going up, isn't it?
Yes, it's a real visceral experience. You feel it come alive for that moment. The camera sort of, it tells you something. It's saying, I'm doing this. So it was
the same early days for me shooting. When you go in and we're shooting 16mm.
Yeah.
And a bit later Super 16. Running a film camera for motion, was just something else. And that real feel and that whole. Again, it's just that. Also having to load film. You had to think about things because we're going out on whatever we're doing. Well, what stock am I going to carry? What am I going to load?
Yeah.
So that's what I've got ready to go. And if I change my mind, then I've either got to unload or I've got to have enough mags that I can carry. Variations of stock depending on what I need. And so you were forced to plan very carefully.
I can appreciate that, definitely. No, look, it just gives you a different perspective. And I think sometimes we sort of take things for granted, and it's good to have an oblique, view or perspective on any craft. I think it's quite helpful to sort of see things in sometimes longitudinally or in retrospect or see it from different angles.
You get better understanding overall of the, if you come in from different angles and, having progressed from the old film days to now digital and also in my instance where I played old film motion and video and various things, you do get insights because of whilst much of it's common, every discipline brings its own unique little bit of stuff to it.
It certainly does.
Helps you, and all of a sudden you go, oh, that kind of relates to that. There are similarities there.
Yeah, that's right. I think it's a really good way to learn and understand, is to sort of see things in that timeline, or in reference to the where the technology was at any given point. I think the mistake some people make is that we sort of try and we bag old technology because it's not up to spec. Well, it's spec at its time, so you basically got to freeze your expectations within a certain.
I think that also comes from a place of ignorance sometimes.
Yeah.
Take an example, the early monochrome cameras that we used here in Australia. One of the particular ones that was used by the APC used a 3.5 inch, 4 inch image orthicon as the pickup.
Yep.
Now, essentially, that's a lead oxide type tube.
Yep.
But a big target in this case, a 3.5 or 4 inch size target. So quite a big target area.
Yep.
They actually had over 1,000 lines of resolution off the I/O.
Wow.
So they were essentially the raw output of the camera was HD.
Yeah.
By today's standards.
Yes, it is.
But monochrome, and then of course it was had to fit the 625 line system. So it was all you only saw what you saw. But the reality is the cameras were capable of that kind of reso, and even the system that was used in Germany, the 39 Olympics, the television, they were close to 1,000 lines, I believe.
Sure. Okay.
So when you compare that to, people really, we've been transmitting digital HD in this country for how long only? I mean, okay, 4K has become, quite a standard now, but when you consider the technology they were playing with to get virtually HD performance out of it, was pretty amazing.
Certainly, yeah, no, incredible. Now, it's important to sort of see, the greatest, I mean, it's like even with loudspeakers, what we've talked about before, those, what Harry Olsen was doing in the 1930s was absolutely, it almost hasn't been bettered in some respects, but it's just the way things are sort of aligned to domestic expectations.
If you can achieve fairly realistically and faithfully the range of human hearing, then it's pretty hard to top that, because let's face it, that's all we hear. I mean, yes, there might be, as you say, there's the psychoustic effects of stuff that goes up higher in the harmonic series, but for all intents and purposes, if you can reproduce that faithfully and that's all we can hear, well, that's pretty well it.
Yeah, totally. No, that's right. So, in many respects, the technology peaked quite some time ago. It's just been refined and domesticated and packaged and made more available
cheaper,
and far
mass
cheaper.
Production. Reliability, I guess, is the other thing you'd probably say with modern electronics when you compare, a modern mass-produced piece of circuit board as opposed to an old, dead bug-style construction methodology and valves.
That's right.
Certainly, there are issues there.
Yeah, I think it's right. Yeah, so I think things have to be seen for what they are and what era they sort of came to fruition and what that meant. There's a sort of a sociological. I mean, as far as using the junk in this room, for me, it's a sort of a window into another time and place.
Well, that's where I was strong, because when you rolled out that wire replay unit there, when we were there that day, and replayed that bit of stuff, and because I'd never really heard a wire recorder up live like that before, and I mean, the quality was astonishing.
Yeah, it is. Totally
you consider
astonishing.
what it's recorded on. You look at it and go, how's that even possible?
Yeah, absolutely.
And so,
amazing signal to noise. Yeah, they're totally amazing. It's just you couldn't edit on them. But look, they, a lot of soundtracks were made on wire, and that's the medium they used. So yes, there's a lot of tangents that sort of, I think they're really interesting discussion points or reflection points, and that's why I take my hat off to, things like Mr. Techmoan, who sort of profiles obsolescent technology and sort of sees it for what it is, paints a bit of a social picture. Dave's done the same with a lot of his vids. I think it's important to sort of, that's probably what's going to endure. I think the hardware's going to disappear.
And I think it's also in that there are important lessons for us now in the future too, because we face this, and let's face it, at the moment, probably obsolescence of media and technology is much more rapid.
Yeah.
And we face this now and I know one or two people who are in this field professionally in the sort of archival point of view.
Yeah.
How do you
I know. What do you invest in?
You're generating now in particular formats. How do you ensure that that is available for future generations?
That's right.
Not just 10 years down the track, but 50 or 100 or
Yeah.
500 if,
That's
humanity
right.
lasts that long.
Exactly.
Because the gear that you replay it on will disappear. The media will deteriorate. And that I know that's being faced by a lot of libraries and a lot of archival type people around the world, and it's
Sure.
it's short of going generational dubbing kind of stuff, but yeah, very much that, thinking about longevity of this stuff.
Yeah, look, it's a vexed issue. It is interesting that we can have recordings of 120 years old, even more, which still sound pretty amazing and probably sound as good. Well, with modern playback, they sound much better than they
now,
would
I wonder
have
if you
at the
had
time.
the gear, if you pulled out a CD in 100 years, whether you're going to get that kind of stuff off it or not.
Well, this is the question. Well, it's more complicated, I think, with digital media and obsolescence and playback and being able to having the right levels of backwards compatibility, and because it's so prone to catastrophic failure. I mean, you if you haven't got the protocol, you haven't got the product.
Yes.
You can sort of mix up, you can mash up something to play an Edison cylinder or a 78. You can get a knitting needle or a needle if you want to, and still get sound out of it.
Or a piece of magnetic tape. You can find a head or
That's
something
right.
and kind of pull some signal off it.
Yeah, well, that disc on Voyager up there in the ether, because potentially, if any other civilization was to come across that,
it will be okay. It's a very basic form of technology, and it will be and the instructions are there on how to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But the reality is,
but if you chucked up a digital file or a hard disk drive, you may not.
Well, anything digital that's going to be bombarded by radiation.
That's so true.
How well will that survive?
Exactly.
Either,
Yeah, too right. Yeah. So these are important questions. But look, backwards compatibility, we're sort of losing track of a lot of formats are just sort of dying. We don't have any sort of easy recourse with some media. So it's.
And unfortunately, from even a commercial perspective, like let's say someone had something and rocked up to it, can I get this dubbed or copied? Oh no, we got rid of the last machine that did that 10 years ago because there was no demand for it anymore.
That's it.
And that's the other side of it, isn't it? It all comes down to that commercial imperative.
That does. That's right. It does. It costs a lot to maintain equipment, and yes, unless the initiative's taken, it's lost. And it creates a huge problem. But particularly, I mean, look, I've got lots of DAT tapes here, stacks of them. And
that was a big format for a long time.
It was.
Yeah.
I used to tape all our concerts. I used to do a lot of playing back in the 90s, and all our concerts from DAT tape.
Have you still got a replay unit?
Well, this is it. I had a little portable DAT machine that I used, and that sort of got issues. And then, so up on one of the forums, there was offering some Tascam DAT players, so I got them really cheap, and both of them were dead on arrival.
Okay. Are they? Do you think they can be?
Well, I don't know. They're complex things to muck around with. It's not. It's like working with like a video recorder. It's not for the faint-hearted. It's not just like working with a capstan and a simple tape path. These things, they have to extract the tape and they bring it around the rotating drum.
I have one contact I know that might be. He's an amateur. Yeah. He works for Credit Services, broadcast kind of gear.
Yep.
And he does a lot of his own stuff, and he's very knowledgeable tech.
Okay.
He's the kind of guy that I reckon might be able to, So.
I'll have another look at the portable one. It had intermittent issues, but I should dub them all off, and I should dub them off digitally if I could. If I can get an IO out of them.
That's what I was saying. If you still got a machine, it'd be get them onto another format.
That's it. So, but isn't it ironic that that's a fairly recent generation? Yet all the open reel tapes.
Yeah, that would have been what 90s and 2000s.
That's right. 90s.
So really, I guess only 10 to 15 years old at maximum.
Yeah. And the other thing I used a lot was mini disc HD. I bought a few machines from Japan, and so I used to record concerts and performances and stuff on those.
I've got a Pro mini disc unit, but I don't know if it's HD. I think
there's two formats. There was the standard one, and I think there's a lot of those around because they're sort of they're the domestic standard as well.
Because I still have a little domestic, Sony portable unit, but it's not so good, and this thing was being thrown out, so I grabbed it.
Okay, well done.
It's still functional, and
that's good. No, if that works, that's an interesting thing to have. to make a video on it. It's worth capturing. But the HD was sort of a short-lived. It was before solid state portable recorders became available. It was just on that cusp. They're only around for a couple of years. And so I sort of got on that bandwagon, but I don't think I've got anything that works to play those back on either.
Yeah.
So,
and they won't play in a standard
No, you can't play them in a standard mini disc.
That's a shame, isn't it?
Yeah, so it's not.
And yet, with the discs are the same format.
Yeah,
they're
the same physical size. They look identical, but they've got HD on them. So it's just another example.
I'm wondering whether it would be possible to get a normal player to play them, though, in terms of if it's somehow a firmware or a formatting issue only.
Sure. Yeah. I'm not sure.
I guess the disc is essentially like a computer disc, isn't it?
It is.
It's just a format.
It is just a format. So yeah, maybe that's look, I'm sure if I thought about it, I just hadn't been bothered. It's recent history, the 90s and early 2000s, and I'm still struggling with all of this ancient media around me. And one day I'll come.
But see, it's interesting because it's interesting that and was that Sony?
Yeah. It
okay. Because Sony did the same in the video world when I went to Beijing, 2008 for the Olympics over there.
Sure.
We ended up using Sony XD cams.
Oh, okay.
So X-ray Delta.
Mm-hmm.
Now, but the particular units we used were pretty unique. They were state-of-the-art then.
Yep.
They used a commercial variant or a pro variant of a Blu-ray re-recordable disc.
Oh, okay.
So it was a Blu-ray, CD size, DVD disc, Blu-ray, in a clear, almost like a holder, which was a little bit thinner than what an ordinary CD jewel case would be, maybe half.
Right. Okay.
But that was sort of built into that, and that was what you put into the transport of the recorder.
Right.
Record, go out, shoot. I think it was about 40 minutes.
Yep.
Something like that.
Yep.
HD, look great, bring it back, ingest it into the servers for editing, all of that.
Yep.
Once it was all done and happy, erase, re-record, reuse.
Right.
And of course, now we were in Beijing. Summer could be hot and humid and very dusty at times.
Yes.
So I was kind of okay, how are these things going to go? Flawless. Really worked well. I came away thinking, wow, these things were really good. So it's the first and only time I'd ever played with them.
Yeah.
To the point where when you were using them, I downloaded the manual. I was reading the manual on the plane on the flight over, learning about all the ins and outs on how to drive these things, because we're going to be on the ground running.
Sure. You need to be an expert by the time you get there.
But it was really short-lived. I reckon that format might have been around for 2 years.
Wow.
And then XD went to a memory card type, so they still had Sony XD cam, but it was now a non-volatile, like a not SD card, but similar, just higher data rate.
Yep.
And that was it. So they were really short-lived. They were around. And so again, I'm wondering, how many people in that same boat have got a whole bunch of old, XD Blu-ray Pro discs that are sitting around
nothing to play them on, lost. That's a very it's very prescient. You've hit the nail on the head there. That says a lot. There was also Sony had another one, a Duo something SD card, a funny SD card. And I've got a couple of Sony portable recorders here, and you can't get them anywhere. It's a particular. I just use a. I think
like a memory card.
Yeah, it's a memory card. Yeah, little memory card, but it's a weird one. And I bought an adapter.
It's not XQD, is it?
Oh, I don't know what it's called.
Because that's still around. In fact, my high-end Nikon uses the main card is an XQD, and the second card is an SD card.
I'll just reach over and have a look.
They are essentially very, very similar to CF cards.
Oh, is that right? Okay.
They are slightly different interface, but they're essentially capable of the same data rates and all of that. And, and some cameras, I think, as an example, Canon, one of the Canon high-end cameras and one of the Nikon high-end cameras, when you buy it, you can specify whether you want it in CF or XQD.
Oh, really? Okay, so you can actually you can request this. I'm just pulling this card out now.
If it's XQD, they actually are still available, and I've got a card reader for them.
You do?
Yeah, I've got an external. It just plugs into a USB port.
Okay.
And it supports, it's got 2 slots in it, one for XQD and one for SD cards.
I'm just trying to get this card out now. I'm speaking to you because I'd be interested to see what it says on the card. Here we go. It's a Sony Pro HG Duo HX.
Oh, okay. Wow.
Memory Stick Pro HG Duo. That's what this
wow.
This Sony. It was quite a height. It cost me about $800 years ago.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. I remember they had a couple. I'm trying to think now because it might have been a format they used in the Pro Field for. Was that for an audio recorder?
Yes, it is. It's a linear PCM handheld thing.
Yeah, I think I vaguely remember them now.
Yeah, so
I think they might have had some recorder units that a couple of guys were using for a while.
Right. I had a sort of a small handheld camera as well, which used the same card, Sony product.
Okay.
And but I've never seen them since. But I do have an adapter, but the adapter's going to wear out soon, and that'll be the end of that. So but
you need to get dubbing.
Yeah, I know. There's all these things. It's the other interesting one is that with the miniaturization. I mean, you've got your standard SD card configuration, which is quite easy to manage. It's
and now
at
the
least
micros.
The micros, you just flick them and they just disappear.
Well, I've now got quite a few micros and SDs because a lot of my media, the cameras. One camera uses a pair of SD XCs, and the big one uses a XQD and an SD.
Yeah.
But I've got one of those little and they're fabulous little device. I don't use it anywhere near enough. Well, I've got an older GoPro that uses micro SD.
Okay.
But I've also got one of the DJI gimbal cameras.
Oh yes.
Little handheld gimbal.
Yes.
4K. Little gimbal thing.
Yep.
Astonishing.
Right.
Micro SD card.
Yep.
I've got a couple of 128 gig micro SD cards that I took away for the trip through to
that'll last you a while.
Egypt, and shooting at 4K.
I suppose shooting at 4K,
burn it, but still, it gives you enough recording capacity. But the fact that this thing is so small, USB recharge, and its ability to keep things stable. It's astonishing.
Yeah, very good. I've seen Mr. Stew's one, and it's amazing, just totally extraordinary. Yeah, he's got a couple of gimbal cameras, and he'll testify as to exactly what they are. But you can basically throw them in the air or move them, or shake them, and they stay stable.
It's essentially the same gimbal that they run on their drones.
Wow.
The technology.
Yeah,
and
astonishing.
And there's one of their particular drones is what I'm looking at getting, but with lockdowns and stuff, I've not gone that way yet because there's no point because I can't really get out.
You can't get out and enjoy it. No, you might as well wait for another generation of technology.
Well, exactly. There's been an update, so but it's interesting. A lot of that stuff's now based on micro. At least the good thing with micro is you can stick it in an adapter. You can use, and adapters are all. I mean, they're very available, and it works really well. Even if you're using micros as your format within adapters in bigger things, and it all works fabulously well. So that's a great idea.
The main problem with micro cards is they flick off, and you can't find them.
Yeah, you got to be
and you can be out in the field, and you can drop them, and you
got to be really careful when you're loading and unloading them.
Oh yeah, and if you're doing it in the dark or sort of not.
And typically too, the slots and the way they sit in, how they've got that little. You have to partially push them to spring, and of course, it relies on you having a fingernail that's long enough. I know
it does. Tell me about it. That's so true. Because and if you get it in the wrong way, you can damage the car. I mean, there's always sort of the convenience is amazing, and it represents an extraordinary generation of
and you
technological
look at now,
adaptation.
Recently, was it saw that I think you can now get 2 terabytes on a micro SD.
It's totally incredible, isn't it?
You look at the size of that, and it's just staggering.
I know. It floors me. I just it's beyond anything I can contemplate. Just at the very thought of that level of miniaturization. But that's where we're heading. But
I remember once upon a time with IBM PCs and all the pros, the experts at the time going, 20 meg hard drive. You're never going to need any more than that.
Yes, that's right. Do you remember those 8-inch floppy disks?
Yep.
And the 5-inch floppy disks?
Yeah, the 5s.
Yeah.
I've still got, I might have 1 or 2 5.5s here.
And then the 3s were around for quite a long time.
3.5.
3.5.
I've got a few drives floating around.
Yeah, likewise. I've still got a drawer full of. Yeah, I've still got one and a drawer full of 3-inch floppies here from not that long ago. It was only 20 years ago.
There's an old, and I must fire it up. It hasn't been fired up for years. I've got an old tub there. I think it's a 486 with Windows 98 SE on it. Because that was kind of the last version that supported a real version of DOS.
Yeah.
And that's there because there's programming software on it for a bunch of radios that all use DOS programming software.
Yep, sure.
And so it was just easier to work in a native environment.
Of course, yes, with those EEPROM programs and things. You need to have that, Yes, those older computers. That's what you need. Yeah, fascinating. Yeah. See, one thing I had to get a new sound card for this recent one. Your computer I've just installed here, and but I had a really good balanced sound card. It was an EMU Creative.
I remember EMU. They've been building good cards for ages.
Yeah, I mean it was all balanced lines. It was excellent. It did everything I needed to do, but it was only compatible onto XP. And what I was going to do is I was going to upload Linux on this computer and then see if I could sort of get the sound card to work. But I thought to myself, this would take it to be the chances of working would be minimal anyhow. And then you know how you can these things can be so time consuming.
Oh yeah.
And I thought I'm just going to make it easier. You can buy a new sound card for $100, and
prices of a lot of stuff have come down dramatically. And the thing is too, I guess because you go back to a time when there were not so many manufacturers of really good quality external cards or even internals.
Yep.
Nowadays there are lots of options. You know, like
there are so many.
And as you say, I know you got the Behringer thing, and they're quite good.
Well, they've stepped up. See, I read some reviews. I got a Behringer one here, and it was only about $120. Now, I looked up. There was a scientific review. I always go to the scientific reviews so you can get a slightly more comprehensive, view of. At least you see the graphs and everything, noise floor and jitter rates and all that sort of crap. And this was performing up there with excellent cards worth 5 times the money. Yeah. And it's.
Proof's in the pudding, isn't it?
It is, and look, I think their Behringer stuff is heavier duty than it was. See, there used to be just plastic modules.
See, technically, in a respect, I think I don't have one, but actually I do. That mixer I've got sitting there is a heavy-duty sound card, if you like. It's It's a full-blown mixer, and it's got USB I/O in and out of the desk.
Wow!
And it also has on the front. A USB slot, which is literally for data audio. So you can either use it to do a firmware upgrade of the desk, or you can just stick a stick in it and you can record directly to it.
Yeah, it's so easy. It's never been this easy. Astonishing. It's all in one box. That's all you need. You could do a full missions with just one module and a microphone.
This thing is. Well, you've seen a picture. It's that picture I sent you a while back with the old monitor bridge sitting on top of it.
Yeah.
But it's 3RU high.
Yeah, I know.
It's 3RU and natively has 16 balanced inputs, 8 balanced out, plus some auxiliaries that are balanced in TRS.
Is that the one you were talking to Mr. Stew about the other day? Because I listened to some of that missions. I was doing other stuff, but I had it on the background.
And plus it has all of it, because it's in digital domain, it has all the effects and everything built in.
Yeah, it's great.
Incredibly powerful, and for me, the other nice side is in the expansion. If I want to add more to it, I can buy. They make stage boxes. Yep. Which have another 16 in 8 out. Piece of high quality Cat 5 or Cat 6 up to 300 metres away. Bang. Yeah. And it just appears as the next 16 channels on the desk.
Yes, using Cat 5, it's all digitally interfaced.
And that's my plan for if we, like with the Kremen for 160 or something like that down there, or whatever I end up doing. We'll ultimately go, well, you know what? I'm just going to buy the stage box, put that in the garage, in the mitters hall.
Yeah.
And then I/O everything via that from here. And remote it. And the great thing is, no lines for earth loop return.
I know.
It's all isolated. It's all happening down there. Full control. Oh, the EQ's a bit off. Oh, well, I'll just wind a little bit more in from here.
Yes, it's never been this elegant. It makes an astonishing difference when you think of the problem of diagnostics, especially hum diagnostics, and in these sort of formats. It's a godsend.
It's got a real-time analyzer in it. On the display, if you're on the GUI you can do it on the screen on the front, but on the laptop or the desktop, when you pull the GUI up, and you go into the EQ curve section, which is like a parametric. So you got conventional controls if you like, but what you can do is with the mouse is just pick up the circle. And you move it left and right to change the frequency, obviously, and up and down to move the amount of gain or cut. And so you can see the curve change as you do it. And that can be, depending on which mode it's in, overlaid over a real-time analyzer as well. So you see all the frequency content in the background. Of course, if you've got 50 or 100 hertz, you can just see that peak pop straight up.
You see it straight in front of your face.
Or it's 100 or whatever it is.
Yeah, it's a great verification
tool. You can instantly see which frequency is the culprit.
Yeah, that's great. No, having any visual reference makes a huge difference. And because there could be any other factors, or to be able to see it there. No, that's good. That's most excellent. Yeah, no, look, it's the way to go, and we just have all of this new level of functionality, which is, I think, something to celebrate, really. Says I, sitting in front of the 1970s desk here with noisy faders and bloody earth loops everywhere.
But you know what? It's nice what you have as you've done there now with that machine in there now. You've got the ability to integrate and use the new with the old and make it all work.
That's the plan, and it's to gradually supplant the old and just keep but as you with a lot of those 16-inch discs that you've got too, the ability now to dub them and that's right.
That's the great thing about today. It's kind of never been easier to do that, I guess. As long as you've got the original hardware to replay off.
That's it. Now, I think that's important. You need to have the right sort of hardware configuration, and there's a lot in that, of course. I'm waiting for the software developments of the new frontier of EQ, intelligent EQ, which is happening, but to get it in audio processing for the type of thing that I'm doing, it's still very expensive. And once that comes down,
that's just a matter of time.
It's just a matter of time. And
then
you
imagine the application of like AI to with DSP and EQ.
Yeah. I mean, you'll be able to bring something to life that you'll be able to bring stuff out of the noise.
As a case in point, look at what they've been able to do visually now with deepfake and also the colorization of old footage.
Yeah, sure.
Like I've seen some of the old World War II
animating old photos.
Yeah,
it's astonishing.
Now,
what they can
imagine being able to do that in the digital domain with audio.
I know.
It's a whole new realm, isn't it?
Yeah, I was speaking to a friend of mine the other day who's also very keen on photography, and he was saying that now they've got the technology to bring stuff back into focus. They can even use analysis, and they can sort of an out of focus picture can be sort of
They can to a degree.
Yeah.
But what's interesting is there was a camera that was made, I'm trying to remember what it was called. There was a camera that was doing the rounds a while ago.
Yep.
And there are still variations of it. It was a particular field camera, and what it was is you took a shot with it and don't have to worry about focus. You just take the shot.
Yeah.
Because it records the data points in such a way that every focus plane is actually available in post.
Oh my goodness! So you
shoot.
You have infinite control over your depth of field.
And then basically in post you literally go, right, what do I want my primary focus point to be? Or let's say you wanted to stack a couple. I'm going to set 2 primary focal nodal points.
Yeah.
So that something in the mid background and something in the foreground are both in focus.
Wow. That's 3-dimensional.
Yeah, astonishing.
It is astonishing. That's holographic.
Yeah, and you think so. But what I was trying to get my head around is how much data is needing to be recorded to make this function.
Yeah.
And it wasn't. Yeah. It wasn't an inordinate amount. Yes, it was more than a standard for the Reso, but it was still.
Okay.
Wow, that's some fairly trick digital domain stuff going on there.
I'd say there would be. They work out subjectively of what we register and what we don't, and then it'll be just, corrected to our perceptions. Yeah, that is completely amazing. Yeah, it's good. Well, I'm going to have to fly because we've got visitors coming shortly.
I've got to go and do some dinnery things. And
good to catch up, Frank. Always great to have a chat. And look, I should be around tomorrow, I think. And I won't be doing week missions anymore because I'm back at the coalface.
Back to the grind.
Back to the grind. And I'm actually on music camp next week. And I won't be around on Friday. I won't be back until Saturday. So there'll be no late night missions. So any listeners who may want to, who probably no one cares or knows.
No, we might, but capabilities are increasing. I can't do 160 yet, but I can certainly on the frequency you're on, I can or do something. Okay. Actually, there's something I've been wanting to play out for Mr. W, and it might be just a good. I found online a copy of Mr. Wells's original War of the Worlds.
Oh, right, okay.
And I think
that
might be a good play.
I've got it on vinyl. That'd be a great thing to play. Anyhow, someone might take over the mantle for next Friday night. We'll see. And otherwise, I'll just, I'll find something. I noticed that Prozoot's just put up another film and another example of his amazing audio processing using, what are they? It's... these are Okaya records from the 20s, 1928, which is Columbia, and they would have been using the very best of what Western Electric had. This goes for a while, so I might just let this ride.
Oh, cool.
So, this was only put up a short time ago, and I'll listen in the kitchen while I'm setting things up.
Have a pleasant evening.
Yes, and you too, Frank. Yeah, indeed. And you too, Frank. Great to catch up, and very good evening to the listeners out there, and we'll look forward to your company next time. So, let's have a listen to the Dorsey Brothers Orchestra. These are a set of recordings only put up a couple of hours ago by Mr. Prozoot using his superlative transfer facilities and EQing to really bring the very best out of the music. And I do believe he's using some of these intelligent IQ algorithms because they sound absolutely fantastic. Although I haven't sampled this yet, I'm pretty sure it'll be amazing. All right, thank you. Catch you soon. This is vk3sl testing.
Upon a stalk, those are the views of all who do the new Yale blues. Just close your eyes, you'll do it soon. A world of sighs is in the tune. When daylight dies, the stars are dancing those Yale blues. When Harvard knew that syncopation, it sent them simply wild. Their anger grew with every nation, and every little child said that the Yale had put the rest beyond the pale. It is the best. Put on your shoes. Suppose you try those new Yale blues. wink as we go by. Mary Ann, Mary Ann. All the daisies in the dell seems to know, but they won't tell. Mary Ann, Mary Ann. Every little rosebud blooming in the heather seems to whisper, go on, get together. I can't wait until the time when we'll hear the church bells chime. I'll be yours and you'll be mine, Mary Ann.
transmission from vk3sl.
cuddle up and don't be blue. All your fears are foolish fancy, maybe. Why, you know, dear, that I'm in love with you. Every cloud must have a silver lining, so wait until the sun shines through. Smile, my honey dear, while I kiss away each tear, or else I shall be melancholy too. Coquette, making fun of the ones who love you, breaking hearts, you are ruling little coquette, true hearts tenderly dreaming of you. Someday you'll fall in love as I fell in love with you. Maybe someone you love will just be fooling, and when you're all alone with only regret, you'll know, little coquette, I love you.
Out of the dawn there came a sunbeam. Out of the dawn a dream came true. Wandering on, I find that sunbeam. Lingering on the long day through. Please tell me who'll ever think my skies would ever be blue. Would ever think I'd need somebody like you. But out of the dawn there came a sunbeam, and a beautiful dream came true.
Transmission from vk3sl.
If you should see a soul that's happy, strolling with a gray-haired pappy, that's my mammy. If you see that she's wearing glasses, smiling at each one that passes, that's my mammy. If you should see a silver-haired old lady, sitting with her knitting where it's shady, just mention me, watch her expression, then if she should say God bless him, give her all my love, 'cause that's my mommy. Forgetting you, where you are the one, there's a new one each day. That's just my way of forgetting you. If I gave myself the time to think about you, I'd go mad to think that I'm without you. Each night now I pray that I may find a way of forgetting you. dawn where you wake and yawn with a sunbeam. A new kind of daydream comes creeping around you. Dixie Dixie dawn on a summer morn, all the Southland is peaceful and happy. It's heaven to me. Love to see those childhood scenes, hills of green, just one lonely tree. Travel on, we repeat, back to memory. Dixie dawn, all my worries gone, 'cause I'm homebound, where the nighttime meets the morning. Dixie dawn. Come out and help me find my man. Evening star, please send your light afar and tell him that I want him if you can. He's been away so long I almost doubt him. My life is just an empty shell without him. So evening star, no matter where you are, shine out and help me find my man.
When I pack my weary cares away, I find a shady tree waking me round evening. Close beside it is an old mill stream, just a place where I can sit and dream. There in a cooling breeze, I'm at ease round evening. And by a garden gate, tulips are waiting to greet me. And down the lane, two tiny feet come running to meet me. This old world's been mighty good to me, and my happy little family. I bless the one I love for his love round evening. the big and small. Rich man, beggar, or thief, somehow there's no relief. How blue, you're bound to get us all. When you try so hard to smile and life doesn't seem worthwhile, then you can tell you're under the spell of the blues. When you try to sleep, it seems nightmares take the place of dreams, then you can tell you're under the spell of the blues. Some bad omen, like a hoodoo, hovering over my head. Not a jinx, not a voodoo, something much worse. Oh, it's a curse. Shadows chasing after me. Blue skies while you're laughing me. Gee, but it's hell when you're under the spell of the blues.
transmission from vk3sl.
Maybe she's lonesome, maybe she's glad, feeling unhappy, she may be sad. Maybe, who knows? Maybe she's living happy and wed, maybe she's loving someone instead. Maybe, who knows? While I'm just sighing, crying, fills my heart, my broken heart. Morning, dawning, brings no change, but sorrow. Maybe she needs me, maybe she's blue, maybe she loved me more than I knew. Maybe, who knows?
and ills hide. Take me to that hillside and I'll never ask for more. I long for the scenery, homestead mid the greenery. Lead me to that scenery and I'll never ask for more. For in that homestead mid that greenery, on that hillside fair, two longing eyes, two tender lips, two empty arms await me there. She stands at the gateway, makes heaven a straight way. Lead me to that gateway and I'll never ask for more. Your overcoat when the wind is free, and take good care yourself, you belong to me. Eat an apple every day and get to bed by 3. Take good care yourself, you belong to me. Be careful crossing streams, don't eat meat and cut out sweets. You'll get a pain and ruin your tum-tum. Keep away from bootleg hoods when you're on a spree. And take right good care of yourself, you belong to me.
Am I blue? Am I blue? Ain't these tears in these eyes telling you? Am I blue? You'd be too if each plan with your man done fell through. Was a time I was his only one, but now I'm the sad and lonely one. Lordy, was I gay till today. Now he's gone and we're through. Am I blue?